Anthony, I think I pronounced your name right. Scalmato is an artist and educator working out of Cleveland, Ohio. He is currently the department chair of animation at the Cleveland Institute of Art and has created hundreds of published works which have been viewed on television, web, and mobile devices. Before joining CIA, Anthony worked as a senior creative developer at American Greetings, where he provided animations, illustrations, and art direction for products that are viewed globally. Brands and clients that he has worked with include Applebee's, Disney, Pixar, Sony, UPS, Walmart, M&M's, Ferraro Chocolates, and it goes on like a really long list. And so I'd like to let Anthony take over and tell us about the animation studio at CIA.
Great. Well, thank you, Spike. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me tonight. And I'm glad that I can share some news with you about what we're doing at the Institute and the programs that we have. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. The host has disabled participant screen sharing.
Yeah, let me make you a host. I thought maybe you change. Okay. Oh, yeah, actually I should have made you a co-host, but that will still work. You just have to give it back to me then when you're done.
Oh, I'll try to figure that out afterwards. Otherwise, I'll run this meeting here. Let's see. Share sound, share. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, I can. I think I can.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about the animation department at CIA. And first things first is I want to just play a quick little sample reel of our student work from last semester and the spring semester of last year as well. A couple pieces in there as well. So this is a quick sample of some of the work that we're doing.
Linda asked who hard. Who hard? We don't know.
You like to think the weight of the world rests on your shoulder, like this place would fall apart if Dante wasn't here. You push his buttons.
Okay, so what do we do in animation? We educate, we entertain, and we move audiences. That's the goal of an animator. We're all storytellers first and foremost, and you'll learn through this presentation, animation is in every industry you can think of. There's a way for storytelling, and we're all storytellers at heart. So where is it used? It's obviously used in film and television. So whether it's feature films and special effects or children's television, preschool animations, it's obviously used in gaming, both not only gaming for PCs and consoles, but also think about slot machine gaming. There's lots of animations that's happening there. Product and manufacturing, so animations that help with, how a product works, how it functions, what the value is for the consumer. Those are all things that we as storytellers help bring apart. One of the other things with product is a lot of times these products are being produced. So while they're being produced, there's nothing to shoot video of. So a lot of the stuff you see is actually animated content before the product comes to market. Animation is obviously in marketing and communications. You're seeing a lot more companies using animation as an art form for storytelling and reaching audiences, whether it's through social media or even just television as well. Automotive is another industry that we're seeing a lot more animation happening in. We're getting more of the automotive companies asking for animators and storytellers to help visualize and sell the concept of a vehicle. So I was at GM 2 summers ago, and they were talking about, I got to see the whole facility there and see their animation team and the massive clay car sculptures. But the product designers and animators have to sell that idea before they go to produce it. And the hood of a vehicle could cost, several $1 million before they cut that hood. So they want to make sure they sell that idea first and get buy-in internally. And some of the commercials I saw that they were working on there was just, you would have never guessed that it was a fake CG car. But a lot of automotive now is using special effects and animation to help show off the vehicles. Architecture. So if you think about, now you can, especially with VR and AR, you can, have a small scale model of a architectural building. You can blow it up. Everyone can walk down the hallways together, but then you can actually animate a lot of the stuff as well. So we're seeing a lot more with architecture and animation, education and informational. So let's say you have a service and you want to explain how that service works. Animation content is a great way for explaining that and educating the audiences.
The meeting.
Sports and entertainment. We're seeing a lot more with the sports and entertainment industry. So we have a couple of students that are creating animations for the arenas. So if you think about, the big jumbotrons in the arena, there's animations happening there. And then obviously medical and scientific visualization. So, if you're a medical illustrator and you're working with an animator or you're a medical illustrator animating, they can't use photography because that's too invasive for a surgery. So sometimes they'll have to simulate or animate what that would look like. Or especially if they're visualizing it, like what does colon cancer look like, right? You have to animate and design that. So we'll go to our next slide. So 2 years ago, 2 summers ago, we just built a brand new facility with that NCIA where for the longest time, animation and illustration was together on the 4th floor. These are the two largest departments in the school. We've seen a large demand of both employers looking for animators, but also students interested in entertainment. So we were able to construct a brand new facility on the 3rd floor. And this is the outside looking in. When we walk into the space, we have 3 dedicated labs with high-end machines. And then to the right, you have a large machine. All of this is for COVID safety right now. So basically capacity has been cut in half. You're going to see some barriers in there, plastic barriers for COVID safety. Along the wall, we have just some highlights of just films our grads have worked on. I mean, CIA, while we never had an animation program, there is a rich history of animation alumni or CIA alumni who have worked in entertainment, all the way from the very first Disney film from Snow White. Many of grads worked on that. One cool story is Ethel Kolsar. She was the first female storyboard artist at Disney, and she worked on Fantasia. Next slide. This is sort of that open area that I talked about. This space typically houses around 40 or so machines. We've had to obviously scale that back, and you can see kind of like the plastic barriers that's blocking between. Everything is 6 feet distance. Around the perimeter of the space, we have 24-inch Cintiqs. So they're on adjustable arms, so the students draw directly onto the screens. Here's just a snapshot of just some of the classrooms within the space. So we have this lab over here to the top left. This one is more of, it's a 3D lab. And this is where we do a lot of like architectural and automotive and visual effects animation. The top right, that's one of the Cintiq labs. This normally has about 25 machines in it. We've reduced it down to, I think, 16. But again, this is another lab with all Cintiqs throughout the entire space. Bottom left, this is another lab that we have. It's a high-end PC lab. So these labs are all equipped with all the software you can use for CG animation. This top right one is a 2D lab, so it's mostly Photoshop, all the Adobe products, Toon Boom, Storyboard Pro, and Toon Boom Harmony, TV Paint are some of the other software packages in here. And then this area here is just an open space for critiques. So this is I think it's a 90-inch television. It's pretty big when you get next to it. We have a big space for critiques. However, this also serves as an acting space. So as an animator, you're often, if you're doing character animation, you have to get up, act, and feel the movements of your body so that you can portray that in your character acting. We have a large green screen room. So this room is where you'll have, we have mounted cameras at the top for motion capture. So we can put a motion capture system in there, and we could turn you into Brad Pitt if you want. I mean, whoever you want to look like, we can animate that to your acting. This is one of the green screen spaces where we shoot the green screen. So compositing CG animation with live action footage. We have a small little theater which seats about 30 people, and this is where you'll have a lot of the critiques. So we'll bring in clients, and also to bring in clients for small screenings. This is in addition to the large PBL that we have downstairs on the first floor auditorium. And I think what's important to note is the faculty at CI. That's kind of the heart of the program. Every faculty member has come from the industry and worked for a studio, and they continue to work with clients or consult with companies. And overall, the faculty have well over 20 feature films to their credits, everything from live action films like Gone in 60 Seconds and Pearl Harbor to CG animated films like Bolt or Meet the Robinsons or Scooby-Doo, even to recent work with, Baby Shark on preschool shows, and Animaniacs, and many different TV shows, over 200 episodes, and well over 1,000 digital productions. The great thing about the faculty is we all come from an area within animation that is a different area of expertise, but all use animation. So it's a great resource for students to learn about television, film, product animation, motion graphics animation, animation in the music industry for the large jumbotrons that's happening behind them, animations for halls where you're projected animations throughout the entire venue. So on all surfaces, the wall, ceiling, floor. So we have a really vast area of expertise in animation. So I'll just highlight a couple faculty. So the top left is Lincoln Adams. He's a storyboard artist. Right now he's working for Illumination, and he's worked on VeggieTales and Illumination. He worked on Minions, the new Minions movie. So quite a few feature films and quite a few feature films and television shows. Jeff Simonetta, he's a creative director at Lachina Creative. He teaches a lot of our 3D modeling classes, or 3D animation rather, and specialization classes. Hal Lewis, he teaches 3D modeling. He was a CG supervisor at Walt Disney Feature Animation, supervised on Bolt and Meet the Robinsons, and worked on Chicken Little and many other films. When he left Disney, one of our grads ended up stepping into his place, Zach Petrock, who's a CIA grad. I think he worked on Baymax and Tangled and a lot of the new animated films there. I worked at American Greetings, and I still work with American Greetings on a lot of the digital brands. Dave Schwartz down below Hal here, he's a storyboard artist that has so many credits to his name, we kind of lost count. I mean, he's been storyboarding since early Scooby-Doo's to Alf, the TV show, to everything until now. I mean, he has tons and tons and tons of TV credits to his name. And then just a whole amazing group of faculty that have expertise in 3D animation, 2D animation, motion graphics. And we're just very fortunate to have this type of talent right here in Cleveland available to work. These two guys down here are from LA. They just came in this semester because of COVID. Works at Nickelodeon and one worked at DreamWorks. Because they're allowed to work from home, they came, the Lasik brothers, they came back to Cleveland because that's where they're from, to teach for a semester. And we're very, very fortunate to have them here. So animation really, as Henry was saying earlier, we cross over so many different departments within CIA. So graphic designers and animators work together on motion graphics projects. We're seeing a lot more graphic designers taking the motion graphics classes, industrial designers and animators working on product animation and automotive animation. Obviously, game design and animation are very closely linked together. The medical, so life sciences and animation works together. Illustration, you can't animate without a character. So a lot of the illustration students are designing the characters, and animators are working together with them to bring those characters and stories to life. Interior architecture, another program where we're working very collaboratively together. So we see animation as a major where we will teach you how to animate regardless of your department, and hopefully those students will take those skills back to their areas of expertise and use animation within their fields, and vice versa. We have a lot of animators use their open electives to go outside of the program to take courses, and then bring that back to their studies here in the program. So this is a snapshot of what the sophomore year looks like. So we start off taking storyboarding, so understanding composition and framing and timing of your boards so that it lays out into a nice animatic, the importance of the camera angle that you're using, what you're trying to convey. We do drawing for animation. This is where we bring in a model every week, either nude or clothed. One week you might be drawing Captain Hook, the next week you might be drawing Lucy from I Love Lucy. We're also going to the zoo so you can understand animal anatomy. So several trips to the zoo, Natural History Museum. 2D animation, so this is where they're first starting to learn about timing, spacing, weight. So it's not just putting a bunch of pretty drawings on the screen, it's actually feeling those drawings. So what do those drawings look like when they're strung together and you can feel the movement? So we're doing, that's where the 2D animation comes in. Then we're doing 3D modeling and texturing, acting and directing. So getting up and acting. So we might give a prompt where, we give you an elephant as a character, and you have to animate a timid, shy elephant, right? Or we give you an angry mouse, and you have to animate an angry mouse. So we're really looking at acting and performance, and not even dialogue, but it's that subtle acting that takes place between the dialogue to show the thinking and reacting. That's what we're really focusing on that sophomore year. Visual development, so we're designing characters, vehicles, props, backgrounds, so they can, they have a place to build from. 3D character acting and 3D texturing or other sophomore level classes that we're tackling. Going into the junior year, this is where we start to do more motion graphics. So things like explainer videos, a service. So maybe it's a service that you're explaining the service of something. We get into advanced animation. This is really more of like an advanced acting course where the students get to pick either 2D or 3D. The junior year really focuses on allowing the students to kind of pick a track. So what track would you like to focus on? Then they have a year-long class called narrative productions where we put the students into teams. So animation is probably the most collaborative art form that there is. It takes many people to work on a film, and there's many different roles within the production pipeline. So we really give the students an opportunity to learn how to work in a large team and manage production schedules and when assets are coming in, when assets are coming out, file sharing and naming conventions and all the things that's necessary for a production to run smoothly. They experience that early on in their junior year. And the end goal is they create a film as a team. And we usually have about 4 or 5 films coming out of that class in teams about 3 to 5, it all depends. Specialization, this is a class where the students get to pick an area within the animation industry that they want to focus on. So this class, a student can purely focus on maybe special effects for animation, special effects for games and real-time rendering. It could be rigging. Maybe a student is really interested in learning about the rigging structure. So, how do you make the bone system work and the skeletal system and a face, the body, the skin weighting, the scripts that's even involved sometimes with rigging. The other class we have is community projects. This is where every single student within the major is given a client to work with. So we have a lot of companies that reach out to us. They want to hire our students for either internships or they want to work with us through community projects where they will pay to sponsor the class. And then we will assign students to those projects, and then they'll have faculty oversight on those projects so that making sure the students are meeting all the deliverables for a wide range of different clients and companies. And then the students obviously get open electives so they can go outside of the major to take classes in glass blowing if they like, or ceramics or industrial design. This is our community project. So the junior year, like I said, every student gets to work with a different company or client. So a couple of years back, we had American Greetings ask if we would animate 5 episodes of CareBears as if they were toys that come to life. So we animated little toys in stop motion form that it was CG animated, but it was meant to look like the Lego movie. So kind of choppier animation, but snappy. We had our students in the top right work on the feature film Dog Eat Dog. So Paul Schrader was in Cleveland, asked if he worked with our students on the storyboards. The students got to storyboard out several sequences of the film, and they then got to go on set and see Nicolas Cage and William Dafoe act out their scenes that they storyboarded. Bottom right, 2 years ago, we had the Pro Football Hall of Fame approach us about an initiative to animate talking busts. So they wanted augmented reality where you hold up the phone and the bust would talk to you based on the John Madden speech about how he talks about the the busts speaking to each other at night when the museum's closed. So we animated a prototype of John Madden speaking, and John Madden, from what we hear, was excited and liked the project. And the museum is now looking to expand on all of the different busts talking. So when you hold over your phone to the bust, you might hear an inspirational speech from one of the athletes. And then this is just a list of different companies we've worked with over the years, last couple of years, for community projects. And again, these are all projects where, a lot of them are paid projects, so they'll sponsor the class. And then there's a couple that are nonprofit projects where the company's not looking to make profit on them. So depending on, if it's a good fit and good learning outcome for the students, we'll take those in as well. Senior year, they get an entire year to focus on their senior thesis work. So this could be an animated short. It could be a graphics for a sports package. So let's say a student wants to do a whole network on sports. What would a sports network graphic look like? So one of our grads, Mark Tekashan, graduated in the 70s. He animated the very first football helmets that come crashing together on the NFL network. So we're seeing a lot more students doing graphics with sports packages as well. They also take narrative production. So again, this is a class that's designed around really story. So the what if question that we always ask, so anytime there's a story that's involved, you just what if, what if I had a pet dinosaur? What would that look like, right? And you come up with all types of stories that are revolving around that. So the students will kind of pick a subject matter that they're passionate about, and then they'll spend the semester developing a story around that idea. It could be what's the most embarrassing moment you've ever experienced, right? And then you develop a story around that. So as long as that story is relatable to the audience, it's something that is likely going to be something that the audience connects with. And that's the most important thing with your storytelling is, can the audience connect with your story? And then the last class is they create a portfolios and reels and shorts class. This class is they have their social media signed up. They have a social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, and a website, and then they have their demo reels that they're sending out to different companies and clients. So we have one student who he has 40 million views on his YouTube channel. We have another student who had 35,000 Instagram followers. So they're really becoming influencers out there in the end, with connecting with their audiences. One thing that we're really proud of is that every student within the program either interns or works with the company before graduation. So to the left side here is some of the more recent internships. So we had 3 students intern at Sesame Street. And the interesting story behind that was they had a couple thousand applicants. They didn't even look at the school. They looked at the student work, purely the quality of the student work. When all the students reported to New York to work at Sesame Street, they went around the room and asked, what school are you from? Everyone in the room said CIA. So the next year they came to CIA to visit the school. They wanted to know what are you guys doing that all of our interns were from your school. We had Noah a few years back worked at Cartoon Network as an intern. Universal. So that job was more of Lisa. She did animations for, I believe, the park. So park animations. At NASA, every single year, NASA hires a student from the program, either animation or game design. So they're doing a lot of space visualization and animated simulations, or even it could even just be like one project was animated, like how the satellites talk to each other. So a lot of it's research based, but it helps tell the story. A couple of grads worked with a local firm here called 360 Alley. It's more augmented and virtual reality. And America Greetings, we have students interning there, doing both traditional cards, but also the animated greeting cards. Duramax Marine is another company that we had a recent grad go off and work there doing simulated animations for like pipe fittings. So, you know, they do pipes and he was animating like fluids moving through different pipes. Hasbro just hired last year one of our students, the student who I mentioned who had, you know, 40 some million Instagram or YouTube followers. They wanted to connect with his audience because he has such an influence. So he animated they paid him to animate the new Power Ranger line. So the Power Ranger toys that came out, they sent it to him, he animated. And I just learned he's working on the next seasons of Robot Chicken in the top right corner. And then to some of our recent grads. So Alex Merrick, again, after Sesame Street, after graduation, he's been working with Sesame Street and American Greetings. Charlie Rose just graduated. He's working with Robot Chicken. He's flying out to work on Robot Chicken. Romero Smith, one of the first students I ever had, he does animations for Previs. So Previs would be not just your traditional storyboards, but they're CG storyboards. So think of a whole scene laid out in 3D, not fully textured or lit. It's just laid out in 3D and you're animating camera moves. You're helping the director visualize what the shot looks like before he commits to locking down a location and paying for all of that. So we're seeing more of that 3D visualize or previs type of work, even in like crime scenes, reenacting a crime scene, what that would look like. So that previs process is really important to the filmmaking, but it's expanding into lots of different industries. Whenever Avengers came out that same year, he also worked on Star Wars. So he had a pretty amazing year, back-to-back 2 major films that he worked on, animating on those 2. And I think he snuck in a 3rd film that year. He worked on Will Smith, some film that came out with Will Smith. I think like maybe Men in Black, a new Men in Black that came out possibly. But I know he snuck in a 3rd film that year, which is pretty impressive to do 3 different films in 1 year. And then one of our grads, Sajad, he works at a company called Bungie, and he's a character artist. So character artist would be not the person doing the drawing of the character, but the actual CG sculpting and modeling and helping to take that 2D drawing and translating it into a 3D character that you can move around 360 degrees. So his latest published work is Destiny 2, which is a really popular game amongst high school students right now. Again, going back to sports, we had a student intern with the Pittsburgh Penguins last year, and AdCom, a local creative ad agency here in Cleveland, and then Whitehorn Digital, which is a gaming industry in PA, I believe. And then we have this hidden gem down in Akron called Twin Sisters Digital Media, and they have several hundred published children's songs, and they're doing content for children's sing-alongs, books, great resource. And she came in and Karen has hired some of our grads and current students as well. And then, my last slide is just animation is everywhere. So really anywhere there's a screen, anywhere you can think of it as a screen, there is animation content, whether it's on your phone, your tablet, the computer screen, a movie theater, a sports arena, a casino, you name it, that's where animation is. There's so many opportunities, so many usages. So if you're a graphic designer and you're interested in animation, I would recommend doing motion graphics because that's a huge field that we're seeing content being needed for. So usually the best motion graphics artists are good graphic designers because it's all about how do you design that composition in that space. If you're an illustrator, I would recommend doing some 2D animation, also motion graphics. So, you know, if you think about the print world and you know, publishing that way, you're seeing more animated children books, iPad apps for animated content. So whether you shake the screen and the screen snows, or you tap a character and it moves. So if you're able to create your illustrations, but then you know, implement those into apps for iPads, or moving illustrations, we're seeing a lot more of. So, you know, instead of you just seeing a static illustration on a news feed or article, a lot of times it's some kind of looping animation of that same still illustration. It's just looping in some way. I think that's going to be the next, I guess, progression for an illustrator is, you know, not just doing the still image, but making it move in some way. What were some of the, we have graphic designers, illustrators. If you're a 3D artist, I mean, there's so many opportunities for 3D and animation, whether it's architecture or you know, automotive or film and television and games. You know, that's a large area. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of the overview of the program and what we do. And like I said, we are all storytellers. I think everyone as a child probably started off doing something storytelling, whether it's playing with GI Joes in the dirt, or if it was you know, cutting the Barbie's hair, or whatever it is, you are crafting a story in some way, right? So take that childhood storytelling and bring that into, you know, what you do next. So with that, that's what I have to share with you guys. If there's any questions or anything I can elaborate on, please, you know, feel free to ask.
Anthony, I'm going to reclaim the host, which I found the button for that, so then I can call on people or kind of control some of that. But I think with the number of people we have, we can probably ask people to like raise their hand or call on them for questions, I think. Though I can't, so I guess, yeah. So though I could think, I guess I'd like to start. Do you have any, well, there's two questions I have, so I guess I'll do them both. Do you cover content for like contracts and business courses besides the creative part, you know, so that, you know, accounting and those kinds of things? Or is that
Yes.
that's not part of the animation department? They have to take that through CIA?
Yeah, so we go over like contracts. So a lot of companies still want to do work for hire contracts. You know, they want to own what you create. That's pretty common. So we do go over contracts with the students, especially in the community projects classes. We go over just business expenses. So obviously your home studio is a write-off, you know, portion of your, if it's truly used for your studio, the equipment that you use. We'll talk about, you know, depreciation of the table that you have, the computer that you have. You know, we always recommend that you work with an accountant on a lot of that stuff, but we make sure the students understand that if you're going to go to a company for a meeting and you're paid for that you're tracking your mileage and you're, you know, documenting that as well, because those are all write-offs for your business. Especially if you're, and right now they don't because it's free, but if you're doing a client-based project, they should consider, you know, buying the professional software packages and then making sure they're deducting that from their expenses as well, for whenever they're creating content.
And okay, great. What kind of courses do you have if like CDPUG members want to, you know, dabble or kind of learn an area? Like what sort of programs are there for someone who's not trying to get their degree?
Yeah, so we have continuing ed in the evenings. So in those programs, we have like 3D modeling. I think we have motion graphics is the big one that we're getting a lot of requests for. So we're going to probably offer a motion graphics class. So there's 3D modeling, there's motion graphics, there's we have a digital painting class, digital illustration class. What else do we have? We do not have a 2D animation class or a storyboarding. I know there's a lot of interest in it. It's just a lot of the faculty don't have time to do a lot of too many extra classes. But I know for a fact we have 3D modeling and digital sculpting, possibly 3D animation, and motion graphics is one that we'll be having soon. And those are great because those are mostly professionals at different companies. So I know Little Tykes reached out one year asking about a ZBrush class. NASA has reached out asking about 3D modeling classes. So, you know, we take a lot of that, any interest that comes in, and we try to design classes around that. And those are good because they're evening classes, and you're around a lot of people that you're all interested in learning the software and the art and craft of that field. So, so yeah, it's a good program.
All right, so I guess if people want to turn on, I guess, you know, I'll call on you if there's a conflict, but if you want to turn off your mic and ask questions, I think we should do it that way, or at least see if it works.
That, or if you can read, I can see there's like a bunch of stuff in the chat. If someone wants to read off questions there too, I can answer that.
You want to read off, Henry? Were you keeping track?
Yeah, there's one question from Michael Quinn. Do CIA students have a chance to team with creative writing students? For example, Case Western Reserve University?
Yeah, so one of the things that we did 2 years ago, I guess, it was American Greetings wanted to create a greeting card line specifically targeted to Gen Z. So their age group. How do we tap into Gen Z? So we had our liberal arts department do a lot of the writing, and the illustrators and designers did a lot of the designing of that content. And they paid the students for their work. But we do partner with Case Western's writing. We've never partnered with their writing department, but we would not be opposed to that. We partner every year though with their Michael Fu. He runs their gaming department there, and we partner every year with them, at least for the last 15 years when Mark Buckner ran that program. We've been partnering with them to create games, and at the end of every semester, those students, the engineers and the and developers would work with the artists to create games, and they would pitch those games to a major studio at the end of the class. So I guess short answer is yes, there's always opportunity for collaborations. Just reach out and we can put you guys in touch with whoever, you know, wherever it makes sense.
Anybody else?
I do. I have one.
Okay.
In the curriculum, when you first start the students out in your program, is it noticeable from their interest or the way they lean in their artistry that they go kind of leaning towards the industrial side of things, like you were talking about medical type animations and things like that? I would think that would take a very special skill set to understand whatever has been asked of them to do in the industrial area or the medical area or whatever that, you know, not in the motion picture industry, but stuff that's explaining or educating.
Right.
Do you notice early on in your program and you kind of funnel them that way, or do they speak up, raise the hand and say, hey, I'm interested in that, can I lean in that direction?
Well, that first year is they kind of experience a little bit of everything.
Yeah,
but again, the focus is on storytelling, right? So we're not designing products. We're not designing we're telling how to tell the story on how that product works, what the value of that product might be, how to visually communicate that to somebody through moving images. So those students typically in their junior year, they might realize, you know, character animation might not be their thing, right? They don't want to get into the performance and the acting and the thinking behind what motivates a character, but they can, you know, spin an object around and flip it open and use timing and you know, video editing and cuts to really create something visually appealing, but also show off the storytelling for the product and why it's important. So they kind of figure out, you know, in their junior year, and we'll help steer a student if we see a student is really good at cinematography, and they're really good at composing shots and but they might not be the strongest character animator. We will try to steer them in the direction of, you know, you can do really good in this field with motion graphics classes and you know, working with the design departments and still using your love of animation and storytelling and bringing those things to life. And again, we get a lot of students doing that with, you know, sports, even in the sports arena and just visualization of stuff.
Hey,
Do you-
Anthony, if someone's interested in continuing education courses and all that stuff, so where would they go on the Institute of Art site to find what courses are available and, you know, what the schedule is?
I believe it's just on the website. You should be able to search continuing ed, or there's probably a tab for continuing ed, and it will tell you all the classes that are offered, the days they're offered, who the teacher is. And that all of that should be available on there. And if not, there should be a contact that you can reach out to on the website. And even if it's just to say, I'm interested in this, you don't offer it, but I'm interested in it. Will you be offering it in the future? That's also a good way to let the office know that, hey, there's an interest here. We should consider opening up or reaching out to faculty to see who might be able to teach that in the evenings.
Got it.
And sometimes the faculty aren't even, they don't teach the undergrad classes. You know, we have a lot of continuing ed classes that are taught by professionals at studios that don't have time to teach during the day, but they want to still teach in the evenings. So, you know, some of those classes are taught by those faculty.
Perfect.
Do you teach the kids like, you know, YouTube and, you know, the best way to use social media? Do they already know how to do that? You don't have to even spend any time there?
We learn from them, to be honest. I mean, when it comes to social media, they're everywhere. I mean, so it's interesting, like whenever they're, you know, we talk about, you know, marketing and, you know, who is your audience? You know, if they want to market to their peers, they know right away. If I want to get my content in front of my peers, I'm going to TikTok, I'm going to Instagram, and I'm going to YouTube. If I want to target just one age group above me, I'm going to Instagram, I'm going to YouTube, and maybe Facebook. If I want to target anyone from 26 to maybe 35, you know, it's Facebook, YouTube, and then maybe Instagram. But after that, it's, you know, no one's using TikTok, you know, that's in that age group. So they're pretty savvy about how to reach their peers and how to connect with their peers. And that's really helpful for us because, you know, if we want to target and market to specific age ranges, we know and we see where they're at. Like I said, I learn of a new social platform every year from a student that I never heard of before. You know, especially Reddit. You know, Reddit's a huge thing, and you could saw what Reddit did with GameStop. You know, and the stocks there. So they, you know, there's a lot of influence with these social platforms that they're using.
Do the students want you to learn, like teach them Photoshop by text message? I mean, does that happen at all?
No, not through that, but I mean, it's just a whole different world when you're like, I do a lot of drawing demos and a lot of painting right there on the classroom. It's all projected on the screen. I do everything. I draw on my screen. So and I'll ask the student, upload your work. I mean, half the students will pull out their phone, upload their content to the folder. right there, which, I would normally expect you have to go back to your computer, get the file, upload it. They're doing it just right there on the fly. So, yeah, they're very tech savvy. They know how to do everything. Even when COVID hit, they were wanting to remote in and setting up all this stuff. And I mean, we didn't allow them to remote in, but they were able to. They're resourceful. A lot of the students I find are resourceful when it comes to technology.
All right. Henry, do you see anything else? I mean, I don't want to let Anthony go already, but if no one has questions, I guess we should.
I see there's 40 questions here in the chat. I haven't looked at them yet, though. Oh, this is just, I think, the
Well,
conversation.
Henry is a very, very good note taker. And he took.
Oh, I see his notes.
Of
Perfect.
everything we talked about.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just in case somebody wasn't able to attend or wasn't keeping track of all the information that you were uploading. This is something that they can take back with them, and they can kind of digest the information on their own, at their own pace. It's a good skill set to have. I had those days when I had to take literature courses to make up for class credits before I graduated. So
Right.
it worked out pretty well. Okay.
I would like to take Henry with me to every lecture I go to.
There is one last question from Sarah Coggins. She asked if the Institute of Art has any visual effects classes.
Yeah, so we have a new class, but not new, we have it, but they're going to be implementing more VFX in Unreal. So Unreal is a game engine, and we're seeing a lot more, a lot of the Epic Games, a lot of the game studios saying they want more real-time rendering visual effects. So that's something that we'll be doing more of, VFX. And we do offer VFX in the specialization class, but it's not a fully devoted class to effects, because effects is it was very CPU intensive, so it took a long time to render all the particles. Now we're doing, because everything's going to GPU and real-time rendering, it'll be a little bit easier to do some of that stuff. But we've had some students do some beautiful flame effects and water and smoke effects, and they're using RealFlow and all types of different plugins to create those effects.
Are you learning as much from the students as they are learning from you, because they're being exposed to other technology that's already out there?
Yeah, I think all of our faculty are learning from each other and our students. So, the great thing is we have so many faculty that are experts in their field. So, if a student has a very specific 3D question, they know which faculty to go to. If they have a very specific 2D or story question, they know to go to these faculty. But I think we all learn from the students as much as they learn from us. And I tell all my students, you have so many hours with us, but you guys will learn the most from each other, especially at those midnight and 2 o'clock in the morning, sessions when you guys are working together and building that collaboration and those friendships and bonds. I mean, you guys will learn a lot from each other during those, wee hours of the night.
And I think one last question from Gregory Wilson. He asks, are students still working on submitting short films to festivals?
Yeah, we have a couple of students won a couple of awards last year. We had a few years ago, student was a regional qualifier for the Academy Awards. Hi, Greg. Good to see you. Greg's a longtime friend. When I was a student, I think I was like one of the first to be submitting to festivals. So I won a student Emmy, and then we've been trying to encourage students to be doing film festivals. Now I think the festival market has started to get a little too expensive for students. They are very expensive to do. I mean, they're $30, $40 a submission sometimes. And if you don't get in, that's a big chunk of money. So, but yes, we do have students still submitting, especially to the Academy Awards and Emmys and Cleveland Film Festival. We had a student there last year, her film. And but we're seeing a lot more with competitions. So the rookies article that you saw where we ranked really high, that was a lot of students were doing that because those competitions is where they get the industry professionals judge. They're the judges of those competitions. So when the judges, you know, when you can get your work judged by an artist at Pixar or DreamWorks or whoever it is, you know, the students are really interested in getting their work seen by those people, because those are the people that could be hiring you in the future.
All right.
Right, so I guess we'll, thank you very much for presenting, Anthony. That was great.
Sure.
So
thank you for
I'd like
having
to, I'll do breakout rooms, yes. I'll do breakout rooms for people that want to socialize, and then hopefully we'll see you, most of you, back in March for fonts and extensive suitcase with Dave Roberts. Thank you very much, Anthony. That was great.
Thank you, Anthony.
Yep, thank you.